Now, I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again, but anytime that we address George Clooney and all the shenanigans surrounding him, we might as well call it Clooney Tunes, because everything that he does is so out of this world crazy, and based on his behavior, we might as well call him Furious George, a little joke on Curious George. But when you're looking at George Clooney, we know that he is basically in a desperate phase right now. He is panicking. He is trying to land several interviews to either apologize or to either set the record straight or to share his side of the story when it comes to politics. And that's basically a move by him to win back a large portion of his audience that have just checked out. They want nothing to do with him anymore. And him attacking other celebrities either behind the scenes or in the public eye is not helping at all. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So George Clooney, we know that he has been pretty much in a downward spiral. We know that, of course, he is trying to really win back his audience, and it's not working to any avail at this point. Interestingly enough, we know that George Clooney pretty much is universally rejected, not just in the US, but across the entire globe. We know that many people want nothing to do with this actor anymore, and rightfully so, for valid reasons out there. Not to mention, of course, that commercial, that political commercial where he actually endorsed and or promoted the fact that you should lie to either your husband or wife is just ridiculous. Now, focusing on all of this, this also involves Sylvester Stallone yet again, and how George Clooney was in the mix, surprisingly. Let's get into this, shall we? Now, with many studios now in Hollywood beginning to change their views on DEI and forced agendas, one significant development going on now involves more to do with George Clooney and, surprisingly, Sylvester Stallone. Now, a crucial update to this situation involving these two actors involves how The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon agreed to set up a deal between George Clooney and Sylvester Stallone to go on together as guests to share their political differences with the public. NBC Studios, of course, and its executives and producers are the ones that pushed for this deal to happen. In a sudden change, however, George Clooney refused to actually agree with the NBC producers to go on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, all because Sylvester Stallone would actually be present and sitting beside him. Much like Robert De Niro, Clooney made it very clear to the NBC producers that he wanted nothing to do with Stallone. Shockingly, of course, Clooney and his team informed NBC that, of course, George, was unwilling to sit near Sylvester Stallone since he found him to be repulsive after endorsing one side of the country and its politics. This comes just weeks after Clooney has been, of course, desperately trying to land a series of interviews to share his side of the story about his role in politics and a move to repair the damage that was done to his career. Now, NBC producers begged Clooney to come on the show, even after he refused. It even got to a point where Stallone was welcoming Clooney with open arms, even after learning that Clooney had attacked him behind the scenes and said awful things about his endorsement. Now, Clooney reportedly informed the NBC producers that he was unwilling to work with an actor or even talk with one that supports sexism, misogyny, and bigotry. These claims by George Clooney, directed at Sylvester Stallone, spiraled out of control to the point that it made Stallone feel uncomfortable, since this actually happened, of course, first with Robert De Niro, and now with George Clooney. In addition to all of that, Sylvester Stallone is now considering of canceling his slot with The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon after Mike Tyson delayed his spot on the show, which is, of course, why they were attempting to replace him with George Clooney instead to boost ratings on NBC. So let me just say one thing about this real quick, is that we know that Stallone is a very level-headed person, right? The fact that he was welcoming George Clooney to come on the show after he was very much critical about him, after George Clooney openly expressed behind the scenes that he did not want to sit next to him or interact with him because he had a different political opinion, that was a very much, I think, brave thing of Sylvester Stallone, to really make that very clear and to really open arms with, of course, George Clooney. Now look, I think this is exactly why a lot of people like Sylvester Stallone, is that he, like I just said before, is very level-headed. He pretty much agrees to talk to anybody, you know, whether they hate him or love him. He will agree to talk to them. He will agree to be seen with them in the public eye. He just doesn't care. He just likes to talk with people. And so he was doing this with George Clooney. George Clooney wanted nothing to do with Sylvester Stallone. He did not want to really, you know, even sit next to Sylvester Stallone, claiming that he associates himself with those that embrace sexism and misogyny and all of this nonsense. Now, moving on forward, Stallone is now looking to rely more so on podcasts instead of the legacy media. Podcasts like Joe Rogan, or even, of course, late-night shows like Gutfeld, are where Stallone is going to go. To make matters worse for George Clooney's sake, is that countless studios and programs are now refusing to have him on to either apologize or share his side of the story with politics. And his disgust with Sylvester Stallone speaks volumes on his character behind the scenes. Now, NBC producers are now scrambling on what to do with the late December episode that is set to air on the 27th, since Stallone is now considering backing out of Jimmy Fallon to promote his two shows, The Family Stallone and Tulsa King, especially after being called a sexist and misogynist by Clooney behind closed doors. So again, I mean, are we really all that surprised that people out there like George Clooney want nothing to do with Sylvester Stallone, that they call him a sexist and a misogynist? It really just goes to show you that he's no different than Robert De Niro. He's no different than many other actors in the Hollywood/film industry. And at the same exact time, this is exactly why I think it was a good move for Sylvester Stallone to finally call it quits, or at least considering to call it quits, with The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Because it just seems like it's not working in the end. It's not a good call for him to promote his work. I think he'd better off be going on Joe Rogan or Gutfeld or many other popular podcasts/late night shows that are good alternatives. So we also know that Sylvester Stallone's set to announce a series of new shocking projects. They're going to be a combination of movies or books or shows, whatever it may be. They are going to be monumental projects that will be announced at the later portion of this month on either television or through podcasts, whatever it may be. So that's exactly why I think Sylvester Stallone is flourishing right now, is that he's very passionate about his work as an actor, as one that now engages in television. It's just interesting to see the evolution of Sylvester Stallone, going from movies to now television to who knows what's next, right? So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about the whole George Clooney situation, everything happening with, you know, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, losing not just Mike Tyson, but now potentially losing, of course, Sylvester Stallone, because he was supposed to actually appear as a guest host aside Mike Tyson, and that all fell apart due to scheduling conflicts. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.